A stunning political comeback.
Donald Trump's return to power.
A new chapter in American history will begin.
Drawing on years of interviews, his long history of overcoming obstacles.
Trump cannot see himself through the prism of loser.
And opposition.
His second presidential campaign was a revenge tour.
Weeks after being sworn in as the United States' 47th president, Trump has already made some questionable moves. From signing executive orders to making moves that would overwhelm the opposition, he's been busy since entering the White House. Just recently, though, we saw him make a move that's going to ban our history.
Everybody that has been considered a minority in history.
Black culture is an important part of America. Through hardship, pain, and a lot of suffering, our previous generations were able to fight for our own freedom. It took hundreds of years, but we eventually got to a point where we became part of society. Not to the point that many of our ancestors wanted for us, as we still have work to do. Celebrating the achievements that our people have made is important to me, and I'm sure you feel the exact same way. This includes appreciating those who suffered, fighting for our freedom, and creating a better future for the newer generations. Yet, Trump seems to think we should forget about everything that happened in the past, move on, and stop celebrating and remembering. With his latest orders, Trump is now beginning to ban Black history, and while it starts with things like Black History Month, who's to say what move Trump is going to make next?
We're following breaking news from Washington, where as part of President Trump's pushback on diversity and inclusion initiatives, NBC News has learned that the Defense Intelligence Agency has ordered a pause on all events related to MLK Day or Black History Month.
In this video, I want to explore the recent news from Trump, banning Black culture history, and even going as far as to suggest Black History Month should no longer exist. I also want to take a deeper dive into moves from the Defense Department and how the Pentagon has also become involved. Knowledge is power, and we need to stand together, now more than ever, to ensure what our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents had to endure to stop slavery and curb the violent racism that Black people face in the United States. Ever since 1976, the Black community has dedicated a month to Black culture. It started out as Negro History Week, but was later renamed to something more appropriate, as we know it now. Black History Month has been celebrated every year throughout February since 1976. It has become an integral part of African Americans, giving them time to reflect on the journey not only they but also their previous generations have made. Over the years, the way we celebrate Black Culture Month might have changed, but the idea behind this time in the lives of African Americans remains the same. We're reflecting on what white people have put us through. It's about the Black people who came before us, stood up for our kind, and fought back against the constant struggle to be treated like any other human being. After African Americans made significant progress toward freedom and equality, the United States as a whole, including the government, recognized this and officially declared February Black History Month. This means it's not just something we made up or decided for ourselves. It's integrated into our history and being. Yet, now that Trump has entered the office for a second time, he's making reckless moves, and in turn, he's now putting our history in jeopardy. Signing executive orders that ban the celebration of Black History Month is something that will leave a scar on Black culture and try to wipe out the progress made by African Americans. If that's not bad enough, Trump decided to continue devoting his new title and time in the office to further pushing back Black people. Now we're faced with a situation where it's not just about Black History Month, but there's likely a larger picture that we shouldn't overlook. Have you heard of Project 2025 before? You've likely seen mentions of Trump's anti-DEI movement. While Trump has denied being fully involved in Project 2025, the evidence is out there. He's already shown us his true colors in just the last couple of weeks after he was sworn into the office. The reason I want to mention these two terms is because they are at the root of some of the things we're seeing in Black culture right now. However, before we go into a deeper discussion about them, I want us to first take a closer look at some of the things that have been happening recently. Of course, my focus here will be to give you an idea of what Trump has done in a way that affects African Americans and Black culture as a whole. Then I'll jump deeper into how things connect to the anti-DEI strategy in Project 2025. First, let's talk about the U.S. Air Force.
Deemed by the War Department as inferior to whites and unable to handle the intricacies of modern weaponry, Black soldiers were relegated to support roles.
If you've been keeping up with the news, you might have heard that Trump has decided to make some significant changes to the U.S. Air Force. This comes as part of him changing several departments throughout the United States government. What I want to focus on here is the fact that Trump has now banned the teaching of Black people in the U.S. Air Force.
Flying training program was designed for our failure. They didn't want any Black pilots, period. General Hap Arnold didn't want any Blacks in his white Air Force.
To be more specific, the curriculum used for education in the Air Force has included details surrounding Black people who were incredibly valuable to the United States during times of war. They were pilots and had a big role to play in victories that the U.S. was able to celebrate. I'm talking about the Tuskegee Airmen. These were the very first Black men to become part of the U.S. Air Force.
The airmen completed their training in 1940, and a year later a squadron was created and based in Tuskegee, Alabama.
Videos of them flying in pilot jets and being shown next to the planes that they flew were originally included in the training that the U.S. Air Force used. However, following Trump's ban, this was removed from the curriculum. When it comes to celebrating Black culture, we need to ensure those people who stood up and didn't allow white supremacy to get the better of them are not forgotten. This means the Tuskegee Airmen shouldn't be removed from this training program. Videos of them included in education did not only provide greater insight for those who wanted to become pilots themselves, it also created an opportunity to continue remembering the first Black airmen who served our country. Something that I do want to note here is that the U.S. Air Force has actually reinstated that part of the training program in the meantime. This happened after Trump faced significant backlash when he announced this change. The original ban that Trump gave didn't only delete videos of the Tuskegee Airmen, but also of the women Air Force service pilots. This was only one of the things that Trump did. As part of the many executive orders Trump signed after stepping back into office, he also sent a message to the Pentagon's intelligence agency. This message was to stop the celebration of several things. It's part of his move to ban programs that focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Trump's ban on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in federal agencies, the Defense Department's intelligence agency is pausing annual observations of cultural or historical events.
This led to the Pentagon's office announcing that Black History Month is now banned. They also banned several other programs, including Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which further caused concern for Black people. If we go back in history, Martin Luther King Jr. actually played a big role in the fight against white supremacy and Black rights. He rose up as a leader of the civil rights movement, where he promoted peaceful protests that focused on asserting the fact that Black people have a place in society without turning to violent behaviors. Martin Luther King Day is about remembering this visionary leader who made an impact on Black culture. Yet it's now one of the programs that the Pentagon's intelligence agency has officially banned due to orders given to them by Trump. Banning these two programs is basically like banning a part of who we are. Black people have come a long way, and we celebrate the successes we've had through generations. By telling us that we can no longer celebrate milestones made throughout Black history is not only disrespectful, but also something that Trump will use to get the world to forget. After the New York Times published an article detailing the fact that the defense agency has paused any celebrations related to the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther King III decided to head over to the social media network X in order to provide his response to this announcement. In his response, he said that he is now more than ever before all about his father's business. He also encouraged those of goodwill to do the same. In this message, Martin Luther King III recalls some of the main values that his father stood for, which include peace, love, equity, and justice. These are the things Martin Luther King Jr. fought for, and he was able to help Black people claim their rights and find their feet in a society that has been programmed systematically to be racist. A few days later, Martin Luther King III published another post on X, where he said it is now 150 years after the 14th Amendment was ratified. It was 150 years ago when a Black man was given the right to place their vote for the next president of the United States. Yet now oppression is pushing Black culture back in time. Trump has now officially begun to attack our voting rights, our civil rights, and is even working on police reforms. The biggest question now is, are we going to allow this? Just in the last few weeks, there have already been several discussions. Apart from Martin Luther King III, several other activists and social leaders of Black culture were involved in these discussions, ranging from podcasts to interviews. We've already seen that these people are not giving up, and this should really be a form of motivation for every single African American. The King family has already called for the community to unite and ensure Trump's orders won't overshadow the celebration of Dr. King. This was published by the Griot, and many people have already shown their support and confirmed that they won't let Dr. King's efforts for the Black community be forgotten. The truth is, African Americans have two choices right now. We can either accept what Trump is doing, or we can stand up and fight. Black people of the past have shown us that people in our culture are strong. We're brave. We have made so much progress when we take a look at where things are now compared to 150 years ago. Strong people don't sit back and allow white supremacy to walk over them. We're already seeing Black people fighting back in many ways. Andrea Waters King went on to X on the 1st of February to say that knowledge is power and that history should not repeat itself. She encourages Black people to remember and honor their ancestors. She also wishes the nation a happy Black History Month, showing bravery as she is not allowing Trump's current show of power to affect her ability to remember those who came before her. We can already see uncertainty through the backlash the 47th President of the United States has experienced after signing executive orders and making these changes to the country. When the press secretary of the White House, Caroline Leavitt, was asked about whether or not Black History Month would be celebrated, she responded with a message that's quite different from what Trump seems to want. Caroline mentioned that, as far as she knows, the White House is actually going to continue celebrating Black History Month. She also mentioned that the White House continues to celebrate all kinds of historical events, regardless of creed, race, or religion of the people being celebrated. However, when asked if agencies who have already implemented restrictions should make changes, she said that she will leave that to the president.
He is calling off those kinds of activities in an attempt to be in alignment with the president's views on DEI and other things. Should they adjust that now and have those programs and make those celebrations however they see fit in the office?
The president is leading here at the White House, and I'll leave it to the proclamation that he will sign very soon.
This is quite a contradiction compared to what Trump has been trying to do for the past few weeks. We've seen his orders being implemented, yet soon after, it does seem like these orders are being revoked, as what Trump took away from the Black community is restored. We could say that's because Black people haven't stopped pushing back against what Trump has been doing. First, they tried to remove clips of the first Black airmen from the U.S. Air Force training videos. Days after, they were restored. Trump tried to ban Black History Month, but his attempt seems to have been unsuccessful, considering the fact that even the White House staff have announced that they will continue to celebrate and appreciate this important month that reminds us of the hardships Black people had to go through in the past and the accomplishments our culture has made over time. However, there is still a long way to go.
And they have rooted out those programs for funding to say those will no longer be funded. But things like Black History Month which are celebrated in many different contexts, in workplaces, in communities, and so forth. So we have more questions here about what does this mean, and how will the federal workforce note what have been longstanding practices in American culture to.
Even though we've had what we can call a few successes by now, several intelligence agencies are now leaning towards safety, as specific details about what the DIA memo looks like. Several agencies have already received an anti-DEI memo to incorporate into their workspace, but many have found the details to be too vague to know exactly what Trump wants. One thing is for sure, Trump is now turning toward government agencies in order to enforce his power in the ban of any programs that would promote equality or diversion. This means he is banning any programs that would allow black people to be remembered or celebrated in workplaces that are part of the U.S. government. His reach hasn't gone beyond that at the moment, so now is the time that we unite as African Americans and ensure it stays this way. Several intelligence agencies and State Departments are now making changes to ensure they comply with Trump's alterations, but it's important that we don't overlook the meaning behind all of this. Trump is essentially trying to stop equality. He wants to prevent the promotion of diversity in society in the workplace. He also wants to ban anything that touches on the subject of inclusion. These are some of the things that the black community has been fighting for. Yet, after just a few weeks in office, Trump has already set in motion plans to push us back and to reverse what our culture had been able to accomplish in more than 200 years. This means the fight is back on. The U.S. Defense Department declared Black History Month as dead, while Trump has also made his moves to clearly show us he's targeting our culture at the same time. Trump's push for the anti-DEI movement has now also caused the Pentagon agency to ban Black History Month. These moves seem like a start to something bigger, so the question is, what exactly is Trump planning? Does banning our history show a sign of white supremacy and racism against blacks? Something that has been implanted into America since the age of slavery. Trump has already made concerning moves against minorities, with a particular focus on immigrants. As African Americans, we belong in the United States. It's our home. However, I can't seem to feel concerned about what Trump plans to do next, and how all of this will affect the suffering that our previous generations, and even many black people who still live today, had to endure. I'd love to hear your input on this move from Donald Trump, who now serves as the 47th President of the United States, a country where, among all of these 47, only one black man has appointed this title in the past. Let me know what you think about Trump banning our history, and tell me your opinion on what happens next. Are you planning to continue your celebration of Black History Month? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you're not part of my channel yet. You'll keep up to date with the latest news surrounding black culture as a subscriber.